Welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Nathan.
And we are your hosts sharing our crazy lives here on the ranch with you.
We're husband and wife, and we're going to chat with y'all about what's happening here at the ranch, in the world, and whatever else we're fixating on.
And our goal is to share our journey, some laughs, and maybe we'll all learn a little something along the way too.
Welcome to Happy Hour podcast, and buckle up.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. It's Shannon today by myself because I am interviewing someone amazing. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you all about herself. But I met her on one of my retreats. Leola, when was it?
It was December 2021. So about 8 or 9 months ago, I think.
Okay, here I am thinking it was just a few months ago. And it's like, okay, it was almost actually a year ago. Oh, we don't know where the time's going anymore. We're on a time warp these days.
I feel ya.
But anyway, she is such a beautiful soul. I absolutely gravitated towards her energy, which is just amazing. And I'm so excited she's now hosting a retreat here at the ranch. I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to meet you and, get to know you and then talk about your retreat. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the retreat and for all the kind words that you said about myself. I feel very in resonance with your energy as well. And I'm so happy that the universe brought us together and that I was able to help you out on that retreat in December and get a feel for the property. And as soon as I, pulled up and felt you and felt the space and the land, it was a very clear yes to me bringing my medicine and magic into it. So super excited to be able to talk about that today with you, to introduce your community to my community. So my name is Leola. I'm a Sacred Intimacy Mentor and Muse. What that means is it is my mission and purpose to inspire others to see an integration of their spirituality and sexuality in their relationship with themselves and their partners. So I guide individuals and couples in discovering how this energy that brought us into this world, this creative life force, sexual energy, that made each of us, moves in the body, and it can be harnessed for a pleasure-filled life that begins with our, relationship with ourselves, and then into our most, intimate relationships, and even into our livelihood and worldview. This is an energy that is not inherently, erotic or sexual, but is this creative force that we can use to remember ourselves, to heal ourselves, and to connect deeper with divinity. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh my goodness. So that just brings up so many questions that I have. The first of all, I'm reading, actually I just finished reading this book that I was thinking of you when I was reading it. And there's some really pretty cool places in the book that just was like, oh, I think Leola would love this. And you may have already read it, but have you read Meditation Secrets for Women? It's written by Camille Maureen and her husband, Lauren Roche. But it's really kind of interesting because it talks about a lot of what maybe you and I, especially I can speak for myself, gravitate towards, which might be, using yoga and meditation and movement, and just, what we can use our energy for as far as healing ourselves or moving into a better space. That being said, a lot of this stuff was, if you look through historical context or you look through the old teachers, the original teachers, a lot of it was originated by men for men.
Yes.
So we now as women, and it's been happening for centuries, it's not just you and I making this happen or this author, but for a while now, women have been now trying to take these beautiful teachings, text, information, ways to live better. We've been trying to take this information and then harness it with our energies and our bodies and with our hormones and the things that are different for us than they are for men and women. Anyway, so that book just spoke to me and I just finished it today while I'm here on vacation with my family, and I finished it today and I was thinking about you when I read that. So just food for thought. The other thing is I want to know how you started down this path. Like, tell me what brought you to this journey. I mean, this is really some really awesome stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Essentially, it was being deeply resonant with what you shared, in that a lot of the approach to being in this world, whether it's, the typical Western perspective and path to success, or even the modalities that one starts to discover when they first begin working with their self-development journey, I found that, they were not really getting to the root of the, opportunity, which is this energy that brought us into the world. I grew up in a pretty conservative, background in Missouri, where there was lots of, shaming around bodies and what they do and intimacy, and even just like what's possible in my life. Like there were, only, a set path that was acceptable. Right. And that led to a lot of, circumstances that felt very limiting for me, and also really damaging, including things like, sexual assault, and just not, having purely consensual, intimate experiences, and, not really feeling connected to the purpose of life as well. So when I started my spiritual journey, 10-ish years ago, it began with the meditation and the yoga and, positive thinking and, all that stuff, which is incredible. It's a great way to start. But at the end of the day, it wasn't getting to, as I said, the root of the issue, which is, our depths of being and our chaos and fluidity and messiness and our sexuality and our intuition. I don't think that it's a coincidence that our leaders and, religions and parents have been perpetuating a conditioning that makes us afraid of this energy, that makes us afraid of our intuitive power and also our more fluid, wild, sensual femininity. And to me, it's because there's a lot of power in that. And it's really easy to control people when they are afraid of the energy that is hosting their greatest power. So when I discovered Tantra, which is deeply linked to, integrating all parts of yourselves, weaving in, these different modalities and moments of full embodiment, that I recognized this ability to heal from all of my shame and trauma and guilt and fear and come into a more holistic way of being. And with that, I also incorporated elements of shamanic sexuality as well.
Oh my goodness. Okay, amazing. Now, this is a little bit personal. It's okay if you say you don't want to answer it, because we can always edit it out, because that's the beauty of podcasts. Sorry, guys, if it doesn't get edited and you hear all this, just know that I want to respect somebody's personal choices here. So are you still kind of disconnected from your family based on this situation? Or do you feel like after 10 years, you guys have kind of, they've accepted? Tell me about it. Tell me what that looks like.
Yeah, I love this question. And thank you for holding this space for me to tap into what's available in this moment. And I definitely feel that there's probably a lot of people listening that are in similar situations where they feel a little bit of fear to approach this world because of how it may be received by the people around them. And I have to say that doing this work has actually, improved drastically my relationship with my family. And I mean, there's still a lot of room for growth and healing, but my mom wasn't in my life for 7 years. And now I'm flying her down to visit me here in Texas. I'm able to have conversations with my father that are difficult. I'm able to ask him to hold space for my emotional expression rather than to judge it and tell me that, I'm being dramatic or whatever it is. So it's actually made my relationship with my family closer. And I look forward to seeing how that evolves as I continue to practice this work and bring this medicine into the world.
Holy shitballs. Do you know how cool that is to hear? And I'm so glad that you were able to share that message. I can say that you're exactly right, that there's a lot of people who are moving through this world trying to figure themselves out, and then how they fit in this world in a way that's healthy and feels good and is alignment for them. And sometimes that looks so different than how they were programmed or how they were raised, or even what, like you mentioned, their religion tells them. And I don't think, I think some people don't realize that you can weave a lot of that together. You don't have to go, well, I'm just going to divorce my religion or divorce my beliefs in order to go down this path. There's just a way to combine things. There's a way to live in harmony with yourself, depending upon what those beliefs are, and still honoring those who maybe don't agree with you. All that being said, I'm super, super stoked to hear that about your family. I'm a personal believer that if you're stepping into your power and you're doing it in the space of love and grace and compassion, then I feel like it's honored more often than not versus shunted. Of course, there's times where you can step into your power, even amidst grace and love and compassion, and people will ostracize you. They could talk down to you. There's all kinds of things. There's judgment that could happen, but that usually has to do more with them than anything that you're doing. It just has to do with their own insecurities, their own fears, and maybe their own desire to also step in their power, but not feeling that they can, or that they should, air marks. So anyway, I'm so excited that you shared that, because that's really fabulous that transition happened during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And by triggering someone, by, living in alignment with the truth that is expansive for you, you're giving them permission to do it too, which can feel scary for people at first, but really that's such a gift. You might be planting a seed that you never get to see sprout, but there's real magic in that, and just trusting that if you're doing something from love, then that is the infinite chain reaction that you're, putting out into the world.
Oh, that so speaks my language. I'll never forget during, it might've been my second year of clinicals. It was the first or second year of clinicals when I was going through my therapist training. And I remember one of my supervisors saying, because there's a lot of frustration in mental health as far as with, you have more quote unquote failures than successes. And all that means is that you have more clients who just, the change, the required behaviors, the required effort is just too much for them in that time and space. And so they fall out of a program, or they just stop participating, or they just dig their heels in the sand and they're just going to stay sick. So take that for what it's worth. And so then you get your success stories and you're so excited, and you live off of that 1 or 2% of, success. And sometimes it's more, I'm exaggerating, but it's a small percentage of success that happens in your time frame. Because, and I'll never forget, my supervisor said, you don't know what seeds you're planting for that seed to take root later when they are ready. Because change, whatever that looks like, spiritual, physical, mental, whatever it looks like, change has to happen on your timeline, not on someone else's timeline, not on your therapist, not on your coaches, not on your significant others, not on your parents. It has to be your timeline. And so your timeline doesn't always match up to what other people's expectations are. Go figure. So anyway, the seed of change, or that seed analogy, is so, it's just very personal for me, as far as it means a lot, because I think that's so true in everything that we do. If we're planting it in love and compassion and grace, I feel like that seed, you don't know what that seed's going to do a year from now, 10 years from now, you just don't even know. So awesome. I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, first, before we talk about your retreat, you mentioned some things that you do in this space. So what are some offerings that you have other than the retreat?
Yeah, absolutely. So I operate under what I call New Earth Intimacy. So to me, this is recognizing that our world is evolving at a very fast pace, and we're seeing this in our industry, and we're seeing this in business, and, looking back even just 30 years, how drastically our world has evolved. And my work revolves around helping people remember the tools that will help them with intimacy. And when I talk about intimacy, I'm not just talking about sexual intimacy. I'm also talking about emotional intimacy, and physical intimacy that isn't sexual, and intellectual intimacy, and spiritual intimacy. So there's lots of different ways that flows in my world, and is something that I'm deeply passionate about, and something that I see myself evolving forward with as well. So how does that show up in terms of physically in this world? So I have a podcast called Talk Tantra to Me. It's a great resource for all the things that have to do with Tantra and New Earth Intimacy. I also host events here in Austin. They're about every 4 to 6 weeks. If you're on my, you can reach out to me. They are invite only usually, but if you reach out to me and we have a conversation, I'm happy to invite you into that space. I also do one-on-one experiences with both individuals and couples. It's kind of like tantric body work meets therapy meets, medicine journey. And those are really, really beautiful and powerful. And then I have a course online called Turned On by Life. It's all about, creating a tantric lifestyle that is tailored to you, because Tantra actually means method for expansion. So, or woven modalities for expansion. So that looks really different for every person. So it's kind of this guide for how do you create that for yourself based on your own blueprint. And then the final thing that I'll speak into is virtual mentorship as well. I do mentor people on, how do you step into your purpose? How do you create space for deeper intimacy with yourself? Can we work through any, limiting beliefs or shame or guilt or fear, in your body, and lay the foundation for a more expansive way of being? So those are all my sort of offerings at this time.
Awesome. And all of that information will be linked in the show notes or on our blog or on our website or wherever the hell you're will listening to this. Will all be linked there. So that way you can find Leola, and if you want to work with her or pick her brain or ask some questions. Yeah. Yay. Now tell us about this awesome retreat that you're hosting at Retreat Ranch.
Absolutely. The retreat is called Tantra Love Retreat. It is October 6th through the 9th in Marble Falls at your lovely location. And I'm going to be co-facilitating with a dear friend, Justin. So we have this great, masculine and feminine perspective of this work. And the intention here is to create a sacred container to explore deep connection and community. It's a space to reclaim your life force, to reclaim your eroticism for presence, pleasure, and purposeful relating. It's also really beautiful that we'll be, in this container under the full moon. And so the full moon really encourages us to let go of limiting beliefs and conditionings in order to make space for our deepest desires and manifestations to take space. And we're going to be incorporating principles of Tantra and shamanic sexuality. We'll be working with ritual and artistic expression, meditation, movement, just really creating community rooted in vulnerability, radical honesty, and soul expression. That's a little bit about like the overarching intention, but I'm happy to jump into a little bit more about like what the schedule will look like, or otherwise just let me know kind of where you want to flow from here.
Yeah, no, I do. First of all, I love the fact that there's going to be a full moon for your retreat. That's going to be so cool.
We didn't know that. Like that actually wasn't the intention, but then I looked at the dates and I noticed that, and I just knew, well, of course, it was divinely planned. It was
totally it was meant to be. But yeah, so tell me what my day will look like. I'm interested. I kind of want to dig deep into these parts of myself and how I can connect with either myself or spouse, significant spouses, whatever. Anyway, I want to learn more about this, and I want to know what my day is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I go into the schedule, I want to address as well that I understand that this might be edgy for some people listening, and it might feel a little bit like, oh, I'm interested, but I don't know if I'm quite ready for that. And the beautiful thing about this experience is that you're always going to be at choice. There's going to be no coercion or, forcing you to do something that you don't want to do. Everything is optional. And the level at which you participate is also, based on your boundaries and, understanding as well that this is a safe space to explore those edges. It's also, totally welcome to voyeur. And if you're interested in this world, there's no better place to explore this than by having trained professionals there, rather than like going off into the real world and trying to, work with people that have no experience with this stuff. So just kind of laying that foundation, to start. And each day we have a different theme. So the first day, the day that we'll be checking in, is called Sacred Sovereignty. So it's actually really about discovering, what are my boundaries? How do I discuss consent? How do I advocate for myself? How do I ask for what I want? So we'll be, having a little check-in. We'll have a little bit of a welcome container to set intentions. And then we'll talk about consents and boundaries. And then we'll have an open space to practice some of the things that we've learned, and to begin that connection maybe with some, conscious touch and eye gazing, things like that. The next day, the theme is body temple. So we'll start with some morning movement. Every day we'll start with some movement. It might be something like, a sensual stretching or tantra yoga, or a little bit of dance, just drop into the body. Then we'll have breakfast. Then we'll have a workshop, and each day, the morning workshop will be slightly different. On the first day, it's really going to be focused on like, how can you feel really comfortable and empowered in your body? How can you explore your own body in a new way? And how does that affect how you approach another person's body with a lot more softness and slowness and intention? Then we'll have lunch, and then we'll be doing a demo of a Tantra massage on a man. So Justin and I will be working together. I will be doing some tantric body work on him. The participants will have a chance to witness that. And then they will have the opportunity to either stay in the room and practice this experience with a partner, or to, maybe decide that they want to practice this in behind closed doors in their accommodation, or just, save what they learned and practice it down the line when they have a partner that they feel comfortable to do so with. Then we'll have dinner, and then we will have another sort of sensual play experience. We call our sensual play experiences pujas. They're kind of like play parties, but more focused on like the sensuality of the experience and less on like an orgy. So puja actually means devotion. So it's about how can I be in devotion of myself, and what does that look like when I'm sharing with other people. So the idea here is just to incorporate some of those conscious touch experiences that we've learned throughout the day into, a real life moment that is a safe container. Day 3 is going to be in the realm of pleasure and pleasure as power. So how can we use this experience, this energy that many of us have been conditioned to, only experience behind closed doors and in a very fast, pace way? How can we allow that to bloom and to touch every part of your life so that you're turned on by life itself, essentially? So again, we'll start with some morning movement, we'll have breakfast, and then we'll be doing a demo of a Tantra massage on a woman. And again, individuals will have the opportunity to practice in the container, or to just foyer and save that practice for a real life experience. And then we'll have lunch. And then we'll be doing a workshop on sex magic. So recognizing that this energy, this life force energy, is something that can be channeled into calling in your deepest desires. And this is based on the belief of the law of attraction, which I think probably a lot of your listeners are familiar with. But the law of attraction is basically stating that when you're feeling juicy and alive and grateful, you get to experience more experiences that make you juicy and alive and grateful. And when we think about when we feel the most yummy and connected to source, a lot of us might feel that that's probably just before orgasm or while there's orgasm. So how can we use that energy and pair that orgasmic potential with your deepest desires, your greatest longing, your purpose in this world? Then we'll have dinner, and then there will be another, workshop around, pleasure as this magical experience, and then another open time to connect with people and to practice what you've learned. And then the last day, as departure day, is going to be about integration and expansion. So setting the intention to bring what you learned into, your real life. What will that look like? How can you support yourself in that? We'll have one last little workshop that is called Lottie Han, but it's about dancing with the unknown. And I won't go too in depth about the experience, but it's been one of the most
your secret.
Huh?
Don't give away all your secrets.
I won't. But it's a powerful, moving meditation that has transformed the way that I look at the human experience. And then we'll have checkout. And that's kind of, that's the layout of our schedule.
That's amazing. So there's so much really cool stuff in there. And I like that you prefaced it at the beginning, like, this could be edgy for some people. And it could be. It definitely could be edgy for some people who have not just even heard of, but don't really understand what this is about, where they're just thinking, oh, it's a bunch of people wanting to be naked and touch each other and be sexual. And that's absolutely not what it's about. It's about so much more than that. It's about digging into who you are inside your body and inside your own passion. It's okay if it's not for everyone, but I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's such an amazing, powerful healing space, especially because, and I'm going to say this because you said it, but you mentioned that you had some sexual trauma in your past of some sort. And that really can damage us, not just in our sexual lives. I think that's what people don't understand is when you've got our sexuality, our sensuality, man or woman, is part of our personality. It's part of how we function in the world. And if we've got trauma, or we've got hidden desires that are unfulfilled, or pains in that area of our life, it actually affects all areas of our life. And so I don't think people really understand that. And so anyway, so I'm so excited that you're bringing this really cool, amazing opportunity for people to the ranch, and we're excited to have you there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you address this fact of as above, so below. So to me, again, this is the energy that brought you into the world. So of course it touches every part of your life, and how you're approaching intimacy with yourself and with others is going to touch every part of your existence. When I started doing this work, my whole life changed. My relationships with my family got better, as we discussed. How I met lovers changed. How I approached my purpose changed. I started making more money. Like, everything gets to get juicier and more incredible. And I also want to share, this is an experience for people of all ages, all genders. Singles and couples are welcome here as well. In terms of the exercises, you can just completely stay with your partner. If you're coming as a couple, you can explore otherwise. This is also space for both monogamous and polyamorous people. So room and respect for all relating styles, and a beautiful space to be open-minded and to see how other people interact with the world as well. It's just a really great place to have community to connect with and explore those edges, and to let go of any limiting beliefs around your sexuality or intimacy.
Yay! Well, we're excited. We can't wait to have you here. And if you guys, again, want to find out more information or have questions, or are like, what is she talking about? I really want to know what this means for me personally, then feel free to reach out to Leola at her information that is linked in the show notes, or wherever you are watching or listening to this, because I know that she'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for being on the show. We so appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Hour Podcast. If you'd like to learn more, visit us online at www.happyhourpodcast.org.
And you're welcome.